Please welcome Peggy Winton.
Hey, thank you. I think we got it on. Do we have it on? Can you all hear me all right? I should do like Garth and say, I'd prefer not to tell you how many years I've been doing this, but welcome. I have to say, I am so inspired and so impressed by all the things that all of you all are doing. And this little tale I'm going to tell you for the next few minutes, it could happen to any of you, and we are all on a journey, and we'll get there one way or the other. So I hope this is useful. My biggest challenge is keeping within the 30 minutes because there's so much I want to talk about. And please feel free to ask questions. I know we reserve a little time at the end, but you know, thoughts are fleeting sometimes. So please just ask away. The title of this presentation actually comes from, I guess it's the second or the third chapter in Associations 4.0, the book that Sherry and Kevin have published. So please read it if you'd like. I just happen to be featured at that chapter, and that title is something that I think Sherry came up with. That's great imagery. Okay. I usually speak pretty loudly. I'm not very tall, but I have a loud voice. Shall we try to? Oh, okay. Let's see if I can hook it there. Is that better? Okay, good. Thanks. So I appreciate the jungle imagery. You can do a lot with that, and a lot of good analogies. It's a lot better than what I usually use, which would be like the mixing bowl on the Beltway around D.C. where I live. So we'll go with that. But if I had to, I'd probably do a subtitle or an alternative title that goes something like A Tale of Information on Two Dimensions. So I hope that will make sense as we go through. I should tell you that AIIM is the Association for Intelligent Information Management. It hasn't always been that way, but we were born in 1943. So this is not some, new startup. We've been around for a long time. I know I have gray hair and wrinkles. I haven't been there since 1943. But we serve two masters. So with the jungle kind of theme, I should have a whip or something. We serve two masters when it comes to interest groups within our community. One is the practitioners of what we would consider information management. Not really a profession unless you are a records management professional, but we're talking about document management, content management, just information management in general. On the other end are the solution providers who sell technology. So they meet in the middle, and that's us. So when technology providers are part of your group, you're probably familiar with analysts like Gartner and Forrester, whose very job is to come up with some new sector so that they can get people involved in their magic quadrant or their wave. And that's great. They do a wonderful job. Our tale begins about 4 years ago when I became the president and CEO of AIIM. And Gartner had just come out with a declaration. ECM is dead. Content services is where it's at. Now, I don't expect you to appreciate that. ECM was a term that we actually invented at AIIM, and it stands for Enterprise Content Management. All the things you need to capture, manage, store, and preserve your information. But here's Gartner just throwing it back at us, even though we had talked for years about the fact that traditional ECM had probably already outlived its useful life. But you can imagine the solution providers in our space went through a little bit of an identity crisis, and there was a lot of gnashing of teeth and wringing of hands. And I said, we can spend a lot of cycles and a lot of energy talking about the label and the name that we put on this. But at the end of the day, that's not why we're doing it. Why we're doing this and why we're using these methodologies and tools is to get to the end game. And the end game is digital transformation. Now, this was 4 years ago, before digital transformation became that just almost throwaway term that it's become now. And that's because it means so many different things to different people. So it's almost come to mean nothing to a lot of people. But I said, wait a minute. Do you think our end user community, the people who are really looking to us for advice, care what we call this thing? No. So why don't we spend our energy and our cycles defining what we mean by digital transformation? So I gathered my board and all sorts of different members of our community, and we said, well, we're in the information management business. Information is our lifeblood. So let's define digital transformation in information-driven terms. And so we did that. And we really liked what we came up with. We thought that it was pretty universal for organizations of almost any size and any business. But we said that at the very heart of it is this drive to try to anticipate what our customers want, and sometimes before they even know what they want. And I know we all talk about customer experience and delighting the customer, but it is real. And 4 years later, I think it's one of the hardest things that we do or try to do right now. So if digital transformation was our end game, we said, well, what the heck does that really mean? And this anticipation of our customer experience. So we met some more and we did some research, and we found that there was one characteristic that was common to all of the true digital transformation leaders. And that was they made it easy to do business with them. And so I started thinking, maybe kind of like Garth's example this morning, what's easy? And I think it is two things. I think there's a duality, and maybe this will help you think about it in your organization. First, the product or the service that we're providing to our customers has got to somehow enhance their lives or make it easy. We are all consumers now in our personal lives, right? Hey, we've got smart devices. We became the most demanding consumers, and we bring those expectations into our B2B world. Who knew that there was friction to the art of hailing a taxi? But Uber did, and that's only the start. So everything that we do has got to somehow enhance or enrich our customers' lives. So think about that and what you're doing. The second piece is how we deliver that product and service, right? How do our customers want to consume it? And I would challenge all of you to think about it. Think and look within your organizations. If it's like ours, we were organized and siloed around products and old processes that we imposed on ourselves. And our customers could have cared less. And they were processes that were actually creating roadblocks to truly delivering that. One of our members is a guy from Farmers Insurance. And he said, we need to design our internal processes for external experiences. And I really like that. And we tried to take that to heart. So if information was our business and we put a stake in the ground and said information is what fuels the digital transformation journey, it's the common denominator in all of those 4 aspirations that we defined. What is it about information now? And sometimes information itself is the challenge and it's the problem. Why? Because 60% of all the information that's swirling around your organizations is what we call unstructured. Do you know what that means? It doesn't fit tidily in a database. It doesn't have a predefined form. Those are things in email, Word document, rich media, whatever. That's a lot. 60% is a lot. And, you know, it's not really slowing down. I have a little poll question for you, which is probably just too easy. But this is something to think about in your own organizations. Few organizations give information the attention that it deserves. And I'm not talking about data. I'm talking about information in that unstructured form that a lot of it should be disposed of, but hidden within that are some amazing, key, valuable nuggets that have your customer experience differentiators right within there. So let me ask you all, information in its volume, its variety, is expected to grow by a certain percentage within just the next 2 years. Think about that in your organizations. Would you say that it's going to grow by 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times? Use your little poll. We've teed this up. Think about your organization. All that information coming in and swirling around. How fast, by how much do you think it will grow in just in the next 2 years? So I think I advance it once more to do that, or we'll wait. Okay. Here we go. Ooh. That's absolutely right. When we asked hundreds and hundreds of our members of our community, they said they fully expected to grow by 5%. So how are we all going to manage it? I think Garth even said this morning he didn't know what came after exabytes. Well, I think the University of California at Berkeley continually tries to put a size on our information, and it's in the zettabytes by now. So I don't know about you, but I've long since lost the ability to control that. So that was our developing story. We really defined what digital transformation meant in information terms, and yet we recognized that the information itself, the volume, velocity, variety of it, was actually a roadblock in the way, or for Sherry's analogy, the twisted vines covering your path. What was the way out? What was the way out of the jungle? Well, we said, okay, we think this is giving rise and giving birth to a need for a new blueprint to cut through that information chaos and reach the light. And so this whole exercise and process enabled us to update and modernize and define a new practice. And we called it Intelligent Information Management. And the cool thing is that our acronym was always AIIM. The IIM stood for something different, and hearkening way back to our genus, so we didn't have to change our acronym. We just changed what it meant. Isn't that cool? That was really great. And then we said, let's standardize on one certification. And we call those people Sherpas, or stewards of information, again, to get us to our digital transformation journey. So we weaved a new practice and a new story. And sounds good, doesn't it? All right, and then we took a hard look at ourselves and said, okay, if we're really espousing that the customer comes first, and we're really talking about information in not only the risks that are associated with it and the chaos, but the sheer power and how you set information free to do truly innovative and different things. So we took a look at ourselves and we said, it's time for us to stop thinking inside out. It's time for us to really take an outside in and look at what is the value and what is the business that we are really in. How do we deliver that to our customers in a way that really shows the value? And that was tough. That was a really, really tough thing for us to do. And I sat my team down, there are only 17 of us, and I said, let's make this the year of the hacks, because there are only 17 of us, and let's look at the way that we do things, both from a process and a technology perspective, and see, can we kind of drink our own digital transformation Kool-Aid? Can we take what somebody said, digital transformation is not just about doing different things. It's about doing things differently. And so how can we do that? And here's what we do. We looked at it in a few different ways. People say, oh, well, what business are you in? And some of my colleagues would say, well, we're in the information management business. And I said, that's the industry we serve. And then others would say, oh, well, we're in the association management business. We run a community. We serve that community. No, that is the community that we serve. And we started looking at it and we said, actually, we're in the marketing business. That's what we do. We create a lot of content. We try to bring people to that content because of its quality, people we don't even know. We engage them, we nurture them, and then we monetize that with the solution providers in our space. And that sounds really mercenary, but once we really boiled it down, then we could focus on the tools and the techniques we needed in order to be the best darn information brokering, connecting people that we possibly could. So my other thing that I learned, and somebody really much smarter than I told me, organizations should invest in the system or systems that are going to make the biggest impact on that maybe new business that you've decided that you're in. And even if it's ugly on the back end, as long as it's beautiful for your customers, that's where you need to go. So a year or two before that, we had started recognizing how powerful the intelligence around our customer engagement, not profiles that would be in a database, but the actions that our data told us people are doing. Activity and actions by your customers trumps profiles any day. And we had invested in a marketing automation tool. And I tell this story for a variety of reasons. One, I think it really represents the way that small to medium-sized organizations like ours should be looking at tools and technology. We invested in this tool that was completely cloud-based. We were up and running in 2 weeks, and our, albeit small, IT group had nothing whatsoever to do with it. It was completely driven by the business. And the business, your line of business owners, are the biggest investors and the biggest drivers for technology investment today because they're on the front lines of the customer. And who better than your process owners to know how your customers need to be served? So let that be a lesson, and don't be afraid. So then we looked and said, okay, in this marketing automation tool, the volume and the richness of that customer intelligence was so much more than what existed in our AMS that we said, why can't this marketing automation tool be our master and be the thing that we standardize on? And that's exactly what happened. So we have pushed about 85% of all of our processes through this one tool. And we are making it do things that it wasn't even intended to do. And that's another definition of digital transformation. So if little old AIM, 17 people can do it, I know that you can too. And we realized that that was hard enough. You know, when I asked you that duality, is it harder to come up with a new creative product, or is it harder to deliver? Ask yourselves that. I actually asked my staff, and I was a little bit surprised. I think thinking really creatively and innovatively is hard when you've, done business the same way for a long time. They felt that it was the delivery of it and our processes and our systems that were holding us back. But that's where we've really tried to make the changes. But I also think that we in the association world have been maybe sold a bill of goods. I think we've inherited a lot of baggage that when you think about what your customers care about, has nothing to do with it. So question everything. I don't mean question your intentions and question your mission, but question, why are you doing things the way you are? Is there a better way to do it, or should you even be doing it at all? And so if you can't always think creatively, at least try to eschew and shrug off some of the baggage you've been handled, because sometimes you don't need to. I started peeling back the layers of our bylaws, and I found out that there were limitations that we put on ourselves that aren't even there. And in discussing it with my board, they were like, hell no, you don't need to do a twice a year audit. And that's just one small example, but it was taking away from our creativity. And there are tools in place now. You all are experimenting with things like AI and machine learning that can just take care of some of those mundane tasks that are dragging your people down. Let them be free and think more creatively, take away some of those manual and certainly paper-based processes from them. So it's a start for us. Like you, we are on this journey, and we've got a long, long, long way to go. But we decided that we're going to help ourselves with tools and technology that can do the heavy lifting that we can't for 17 people do. So we're saying goodbye to our AMS, and I'd love to talk to you about that at the break. That could be a whole nother presentation. I'm super excited about that. We said goodbye to some of those diluted and kind of maybe so-so programs of ours. And just like Garth said this morning, we know that we do some things really, really well. So let's focus on those and just optimize them as much as we can. We've gotten rid of some overly governance and administratively heavy stuff that our customers certainly don't care about and our board doesn't care about. So what the hell are we doing about it? I said we were in the standards administration business. We owned a few standards. Nobody cared about them except a few manufacturers because they had old products that were still on there, but the manufacturers weren't even helping us administrate it. So I thought, why are we doing this kind of thing? So I found a new home for it and have never looked back. And nor have our members ever asked for it. So that was a good thing. We've said hello. We're embracing, we're training our people around those customer intelligence tools that are there for us. We are putting everything we can. I love some of the discussion, Ariana, about where content comes from. Read a book by Marcus Sheridan. Have you all read that? It's called They Ask, You Answer. And it is all about learning where the sources of content are within your own organization. I think that was a poll question, that Ron did. Your salespeople are on the front line. Your customer service people are on the front line. They are content creators. So leverage that and invest in that. And community building. So here's just a few numbers. We've got AIM by the numbers too. 100% of our staff work remotely. We have hired by skill, not by geography. There was no rhyme or reason that certain of us were in certain geographies and certain people weren't, and it was certainly not an equitable policy that just because a few of us, had grown up in the Washington, D.C. area that we would come to an office. I mean, some of us were 50 miles away. That's not fair. And again, there was no functional reason why that was the case. We own 0 IT systems. Absolutely everything is software as a service. I can't tell you how liberating that is. And that means we get the latest version at any time, and we have gone after best of breed things to do that, make that biggest impact. You can stitch them together. There are APIs out there. It's really not that difficult, but go with an ecosystem, HubSpot for us, where with HubSpot and Shopify, we don't need no stinking AMS. So, we're proud of our community. And when we say community, we long ago realized that our active community does not have to be dues payers. In fact, people who are just being handed an information management project in addition to their regular job come to us because they need help. And frankly, they are fantastic new customers for content and training. And I dare say our solution providers who pay us good money to get access to them love fresh new blood. You know, why wouldn't they? And I mean that in a good way. So that's a little bit about us. All of you are in the information management business. You are. Some of you are consumers of it. Most of you are brokers. And I bet some of you are stewards. You get that somebody needs to have a little adult supervision over there. So a lot of our own educational resources are free. Come on, please take advantage. Just poke around. There's all sorts of really good things there. And I love talking about this stuff. So I've so enjoyed meeting some new friends today. So just contact me and call me up anytime, and love to learn from you too. So thank you so much.